я без проблем.
Но не спускаясь в легкий вес.
Ну да, ради чего? У меня был пояс в легком весе, меня никто не побеждал в легком весе. Я просто оставил пояс и поднялся наверх. Ради чего? Ради пояса, мне это не интересно. И если он хочет подняться, то он не доказал в легком весе. У него там очень много работы. Тот же Арман Сарукян каждый день выставляет его, просит с ним подраться.
Islam Makhachev has just dismissed a potential lightweight bout with Ilia Topuria and shows no interest in cutting weight. The welterweight title holder recommends the lightweight titleist initially confront deserving rivals in his class prior to considering an ascent. During a recent discussion, Islam Makhachev expressed his views on his upcoming fight and rejected the notion of dropping to lightweight for a contest against Ilia Topuria. He plainly stated his involvement in that weight class is complete, perceiving no motivation to revisit. Instead, Makhachev indicated the onus falls on Topuria to ascend, portraying it as that he has proven all he can at lightweight.
О ваших потенциальных соперников. Я понял, что вы в легкий вес возвращаться не собираетесь, но все же, есть Илия Топурия.
Я открыт, я без проблем.
Но не спускаясь в легкий вес.
Ну да, ради чего? У меня был пояс в легком весе, меня никто не побеждал в легком весе. Я просто оставил пояс и поднялся наверх. Ради чего? Ради пояса, мне это не интересно. И если он хочет подняться, то welcome.
А верите в то, что Илья может подняться еще на одну весовую категорию?
Он может подняться, потому что он тоже ничего не теряет, если поднимается. Он проиграет, вернется к себе в легкий вес, и все, там будет защищать свой пояс.
Makhachev proposed Ilia Topuria ought to establish himself at lightweight before seeking a fight with him. He made clear he intends not to return to that division, noting Ilia has much left to prove there. Makhachev additionally pointed to Arman Tsarukyan as a logical matchup, remarking that Arman has been persistently requesting that contest and warrants the opportunity.
Больше нужен Топурий, как вы сами считаете, чем вам?
100%. Я и так являлся чемпионом в легком весе, и я спускаться точно не буду. А ему, я повторю, что он ничего не теряет, если он поднимется. С моей стороны, и это не будет правильным звать кого-то с меньше веса, который только стал чемпионом. Он еще ничего не доказал в легком весе. У него там очень много работы. Тот же Арман Сарукян каждый день выставляет его, просит с ним подраться.
Afterward, Islam Makhachev conceded he was astonished by the ease with which he managed Jack Della Maddalena when grounded. He clarified that having reviewed JDM's prior bouts, he prepared for the single escape Maddalena depended upon. Once that choice was negated, Makhachev sensed there was scant opposition remaining, and from then he knew he could hold him down as long as he wished.
Знаете, мы изучали соперников, смотрели его бои. До меня он дрался с Белялом. И у Беляла тоже борцовские навыки. Он переводил его. Мандалена хорошо вставал после тейкдаунов. И вставал одним и тем же приемом, там такой переворот. И я его повалил, и смотрю, он пытается сделать этот же переворот. Но я уже был готов к этому и защищался. И я понял, что у него ничего другого нету кроме этого переворота. И про себя говорю, и это все, больше ты ничему не научился, больше у тебя нет других навыков, чтобы встать в стойку. И тогда я понял, что он там надолго.
Meanwhile, Chael Sonnen commented on the fight involving Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett, highlighting the standard view that Paddy would require taking Gaethje to the ground to succeed. Although some would presume Gaethje dominates if it remains upright, Sonnen proposed, things aren't so clear-cut, considering the sport more generally. He hinted that results aren't always foreseeable from those customary beliefs.
Between Justin Gaethje and Paddy the Baddy, there was a consensus that Paddy has to take Gaethje down, and that if you go back and you look over the history of Gaethje's career, people don't take him down. And meanwhile, the argument would be if it stays on his feet, it would go to Gaethje. Is it that straightforward? I don't think so. And based on what we've seen, I could see where you could come to that conclusion. I'm just sharing, if you follow the sport as a whole, we don't really see that anymore.
Chael Sonnen also advocated for Arman Tsarukyan, requesting recognition of his professionalism. He underlined that Arman stepped in as a backup fighter, matched to fight on instant notice. Sonnen emphasized such dedication warrants praise and a pardon, revealing he personally pardons Arman, hoping others mirror his action.
In 2 weeks as a backup fighter for UFC 324? What's his situation?
Can we please forgive him? Whatever he did to get himself in this weird purgatory, can we also remember that he agreed to be a backup fighter, that he did a training camp, that he flew out to Las Vegas, he went through the commission, he made weight, he was ready to go in on a moment's notice. You get something for that. I want him to get something.
I want him recognized. I forgive Arman Tsarukyan. I want other people to forgive him.
Arman Tsarukyan expressed his wish that Justin Gaethje would overcome Paddy Pimblett, seeing Gaethje as a fighter ready to face him next. He suggested that if Paddy wins, he might attempt to avoid fighting Arman, implying Justin's mindset makes him a more direct opponent to face.
Justin to beat Paddy. Yeah, because that Justin he's gonna fight with me, but Paddy, if Paddy wins, he's gonna try to avoid me, trying not to fight me, because he's not man like Justin.
Challenged the buzz surrounding Arman Tsarukyan's grappling, implying it falls short of the fight to make a statement and silence the chatter, contending that current displays shifted his perspective of Arman's stylistic danger. Pimblett furthermore suggested that having observed Arman intently, he now views Ilia Topuria as the tougher foe of the...
He's an amazing fighter though. How do you think you match up against him if you guys are to be matched up in the future?
I hope I eventually fight Arman because I want to shut him up. He's a little idiot. I'd love to beat him up. Everyone thinks his grappling's unbelievable. I don't think it's that good at all. You know, if you can't submit Char a bullet lad who's a striker who can't grapple, then I don't think your grappling's that good at all. Before he fought Dan Hooker, I thought that Arman may have been a tougher fight for me stylistically than Ilia. But after watching that fight, he's not. Ilia's a much tougher fight.
Arman Tsarukyan further challenges Paddy Pimblett's ground skills, indicating he is less threatening on the mat than his image suggests. He asserted Paddy sidesteps facing elite opponents, and fresh evidence has merely solidified Arman's concerns regarding his capabilities there.
He has no grappling. He trains with bull guys. He never compete even the high level. He never compete in jiu-jitsu or grappling. I saw him. He had a fight, grappling fight, and he tapped or he lost. So he's a trash can in the grappling and the wrestling.
Responded to Arman Tsarukyan, ridiculing his grappling prowess and challenging his real effectiveness on the mat. He minimized Arman's successes beyond MMA, stressing his sole concentration lies purely on fighting. The interaction became hostile, with Paddy painting Arman's other ventures as needless risk and using it to fuel their deepening rivalry.
Grappling a lot. I know you don't want to talk about him, but how do you feel about his, his grappling tournament, Steve?
Lad, I heard he nearly got triangled by what's his name?
Shara Magomedov.
Yeah, he nearly got triangled by him, and he can't grapple to save his life either. He's a striker, and he nearly got triangled by him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever got any interest of taking those sort of exhibition type things? You know, RAF have got this kind of like grappling thing. Is there ever been like a reach out for like let's do a grappling match for Pimblett, or is that?
I don't know. Before I was in the UFC years ago, when I was coming back from an injury, I done Polaris one time against Stevie Ray. He caught me in a leg lock. That's like the only one I've done in the past 10 years or something like that. I used to do grappling competitions all the time when I was younger and stuff like that, but obviously I'm focused on fighting now. I don't, like, he can go off and do all these other things if he wants, lad, but hopefully he takes his neck doing them.
In contrast, Paddy Pimblett likewise defended against the recent contention and disapproval stemming from his remarks on Dan Hooker, asserting his statements had been misinterpreted. He stressed he had never meant any disrespect toward Hooker's kin and believed the strong reaction was unwarranted. Pimblett compared the response to his statements against what he termed an absence of indignation over remarks about his own private tragedy, presenting the scenario as a demonstration of the rapid changeability of perceptions within the MMA world.
I'm bad about his mum. Mrs. Hooker's probably a lovely woman, and I never said a bad word about his mum, but then he goes on and says something about my dead mate who can't defend himself. It was a bit weird. I had my friend's family messaging me saying what's going on here and all that, so like the way people have went on about what I said, but no one condoned what he said and said, what are you doing mentioning someone who's dead, is very, very strange. But you know, that's the MMA world for you. No matter what I do, no matter what I say, people will make me look like the worst man alive when I just used an analogy for how bad Dan Hooker's grappling is.
Pimblett retorts to Dan Hooker, contending the chasm between them is wider than ever. He disregards Hooker's recent streak and asserts he's performing at a loftier level now, especially with a championship in sight. Pimblett maintains the controversy surrounding his remarks was distorted, purely about combat skill. He turns the critique back on Hooker, noting lines were breached far more seriously, and asks why he's seen as the villain.
Dan Hooker's beneath me now, especially when I win this belt. He's 5-5 in his last 10. He's an absolute crab, you know what I mean? People are calling Michael Chandler washed, and Michael Chandler knocked him out in 2 minutes. So what's Dan Hooker? You don't mention dead people. And that's what Dan Hooker's done. Dan Hooker's mentioned a dead person and basically tried to say it was my fault he killed himself, saying that I'm not a good friend. Like, that's below the belt. What I said was nothing to do with his mum. Never said a bad word about his mum. What I said was an analogy for how bad his grappling is. And somehow, I'm the bad guy, and I'm the one who's in the wrong when he's mentioned my dead friend.
Well, what happened was that lately in an interview, examined Dan Hooker's conflict that promptly grew worse. What began as competitive banter resulted in broad disapproval, shifting focus from the bout to his uttered remarks. This incident sparked condemnation and introduced fresh strain to a pre-existing fierce contention.
They're saying like Justin Gaethje, he's older than that lad. He's 2 years older than Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker Dan Hooker couldn't grapple a rapist off his mark. You know what I mean?
Okay, strong statements about Dan Hooker there.
Retaliated against Paddy Pimblett, reproaching him for his silence face-to-face and labeling him insincere off-camera. He stated that he felt ambushed when the remark became public, presuming their relationship was friendly. The atmosphere intensified further when Hooker mentioned Ricky, a person dear to Paddy who died in 2022, creating a sensitive and contentious dimension to the discussion.
You know, I don't actually give a fuck. I hate everyone ranked in front of me. You know what I mean? That's
you can like me then.
if you're behind me,
Great bloke. Some swag
great bloke, absolutely love it. The second you get above me, I'll fucking hate your guts. I hate that your head's attached to your body.
I like the style.
So that's the full account and the cause of the current feud between these two. Meanwhile, besides Arman and Hooker, Paddy is also aiming for Ilia Topuria as he wants to challenge him for the lightweight title without delay. However, regardless of their rivalry, Paddy Pimblett also recognizes Ilia Topuria's in-ring achievements, crediting him for what he's done as a fighter. Concurrently, he made a clear distinction between regard for the record and his take on the man, suggesting that despite the successes, he doesn't see Topuria as authentic.
And he made it into an issue, it wasn't me. You know what I mean? He made it into an issue when he tried to jump me with like 10 other people when I was stood on my own. He's lucky that I was on my own that day, because if I would have been with my team, we would have battered them all. So it's all from that. And, you know, as a fighter, I respect him. I think what he's done's brilliant. Like, I'd love to do what he's done, and I'm planning on doing it. But as a person, I think he's fake, and I think I'm going to beat him up.
Also understated Ilia Topuria's physique, noting the size disparity between them would be too obvious to disregard. He emphasized that weight classes serve a purpose and warned that if Ilia moves up to 155, he'd be entering a fight where a physical disadvantage might swiftly pose a threat.
Yeah, I think I beat him up as well, you know what I mean? Like, he's very small compared to me, you know what I mean? He's up to like here, he's not that wide. You've definitely seen that video of him and Pantoja stood next to each other and they look the same weight. So, like, this weight class is for a reason. And if he wants to fight me at 155, it'll get seriously messy on us.
Meanwhile, Colby Covington targeted Khamzat Chimaev, referencing their prior potential fight and portraying it as an advantageous contest for himself. He proposed Chimaev couldn't keep him down on the mat, which would push the contest into a striking battle. Covington leveraged that premise to challenge Chimaev's ease in striking encounters, hinting that being struck is what he aims to prevent. That's
interesting, you know, you coming to the division. With a few wins, you and Khamzat, that could be a massive fight, right?
Yeah, you know, we were supposed to fight at welterweight in the past. You know, they were talking about making that fight happen. So I love that fight. I think it's a great fight for me. He's not going to take me down and hold me down. I'll get right up. You know, collegiate wrestling teaches you fight the hands, you know, look for underhooks, get right back to your feet. So he's not going to be holding me like he did his last fight with Dricus. It'll be a completely different fight. And then it's a striking fight, and I think he's scared to strike. I don't think he likes to strike people. He doesn't like to get hit in the face. So, you know, I love that fight. So the quickest path to get there is what I'm looking for. If it's Izzy would be a great stylistic matchup. And then, you know, whoever else is next, and then boom, let's do it, comes up.
Covington also pointed out the immense difficulty in defeating Khamzat Chimaev. He stated that thwarting his takedowns or tiring him on the feet represented a huge challenge, and anyone looking to win would require top-tier wrestling, impeccable sprawls, and almost perfect defensive abilities. Covington further stressed that lacking powerful submission attacks or elite takedown defense, Chimaev could control the weight class.
Anybody in their top 10 that could beat Khamzat right now?
I mean, you know, you're going to have to be able to stop his takedowns, you know. You're going to have to be able to strike with him and stop his takedowns, get him tired in that department. So I don't know. I don't know if I do see anybody. I can't see the top contenders off my list off the top of my head right now. But, you know, obviously the most worthy contender is Nasruddin Imavov. That's the fight that needs to happen. And, you know, he needs to see if he can get through that test before we start talking about him being unbeatable. But, you know, I mean, to beat him, you're going to have to wrestle into him and defensively have insane sprawls and insane down blocking defense and stop his takedowns and make it a striking fight like Gilbert Burns did, or have such good jiu-jitsu and striking that you can counteract one another. But unless you threaten him with submissions or takedown defense, he's just going to be walking through that division.
He identifies Israel Adesanya as the contest that makes the most sense for him as he aims for middleweight. He characterized it as a personal struggle as much as a competitive one, citing previous trash talk and articulating his wish for the opportunity to see if Adesanya can validate it in the cage.
Israel Adesanya, that's someone that intrigues me, a former champion, you know, like myself, you know, someone that generates hype, has a following, has a platform and a brand. So, you know, I think the Izzy fight makes a lot more sense than anything. And it's someone I don't really like. He's talked a lot about me in the past, so let's see if he can actually back that talk.
Bo Nickel spoke frankly when discussing a potential bout with Colby Covington. He called it a one-sided fight, viewing himself as the test that would instantly reveal Covington's flaws at middleweight. Nickel embraced its grand scale, stating the platform was unmatched and making a global declaration.
Do it in the UFC in June, and I can just absolutely rip that guy apart and send him packing and end his career. So, you know, that's what I'm looking forward to doing, because I don't think that he would ever in a million years wrestle me. But as far as fighting, the UFC, I think, isn't super happy with him. So they'll probably, you know, there's a chance that they'll just make him fight me.
Wow. So you're saying White House card, you versus Colby. That's what you're referring to.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as we were doing the press conference post event, he said that that he's coming up to middleweight. And so,
wow,
you know, all the wrestling people there asked him, said, "Why don't you fight Bo?" And he was like, I don't know, he's not on my level. It's like, all right, bro, I'm not on your level. I'm an easy check. So let's get in there and I'll embarrass you in front of the entire world.
Colby Covington blasted Bo Nickel, faulting him for sidestepping a fight with Yoel Romero. He pulled no punches, branding Nickel a coward and ridiculing him for balking at wrestling, someone considerably older and a bit over the weight limit, making it plain he considered the decision shameful.
Exactly. I mean, it's just embarrassing. Bozo Nichols is a complete coward. He's a quitter. The fact that he didn't want to wrestle a guy who missed weight by a couple pounds, the guy's 17 years older than you. He's like almost 50 years old. Why are you worried about a guy that's almost 50 years old? You should want to do good business for the Real American Freestyle brand. Like, you pride yourself on being ready and wanting to be a company man, but you're not showing up for the company. That's 2 times in a row he's pulled out to wrestle Yoel Romero on the Real American Freestyle platform. So it's embarrassing, but it makes sense. We all know Bozo Nichols a quitter. The first time he had a little adversity in his fight career against, I want to apologize to Renner de Ritter here. I want to apologize because before I called him a Dutch kickboxer, I didn't know he's a grappler.
So that concludes today's video, and we truly hope that you liked it. Let us know your thoughts below, and please like and subscribe to our channel for more exciting MMA videos.